Session.
Oh, was that academy graduation?
Over here. Right here. Right here.
Solid on our.
Good evening, everyone. I call to order the September 12th, 2024 meeting of the Northern Virginia Transportation Authority. I'll be chairing the meeting, substitute for Chair Randall. We have a roll call.
Vice Chair Snyder,
Yes.
Supervisor Turner,
Here.
Chairman McKay,
Here.
Chair Jefferson,
Here.
Board Member Hughes, Mayor Wilson,
Here.
Mayor Davis Younger,
Here.
Mayor Rochelle,
Here.
Mayor Reed,
Here.
Senator Boysko,
Here.
Delegate Delaney, Delegate Sewell,
Here.
Mr. Minshew,
Here.
Mr. Cutler,
Here.
Mr. Horsley.
Here.
You have the floor.
Thanks a lot. Well, it's a real pleasure to welcome two new board members, Delegate Sewell and Randy Minshew. Randy's making a return engagement with us, and we're very pleased and welcome, Delegate. Thank you very much for joining us. I'd also note that there's no closed session later. And Mayor Wilson has given me a very aggressive timetable for this meeting. So I won't say that what that is. We'll all know afterwards.
Hopefully, we're gonna be able to get out to already. That was the criteria. I think it was such a great word.
Okay, so first our action items. The first is approval of the July 11, 2024 meeting summary minutes.
Mr. Chairman, we're gonna move.
Here's our second.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any negative votes? Any abstentions? Catch that, couple of abstentions here. Okay, thanks. Next item on the agenda is approval of the electronic meeting policy update. Mr. Lonnie.
Thank you. This item is before you because of changes made in the 2024 General Assembly. It was largely represented by Northern Virginia. The two House bills were introduced by Delegate Bennett Parker, and Senator Favola and Senator Marsden introduced the two Senate bills. Due to these revisions, we're here today to adopt these. The authorities, Council of Councils helped draft the policy updates. A quick summary of the changes, and I'm sure many of you in jurisdictions have already encountered these. The policy has to be readopted every year, so we will include it in the January authority meeting, organizational meeting. It increases to 50% the number of meetings the authority or the committees can do remotely per year. Members will be considered absent from a portion of the meeting if the visual communications is disconnected or otherwise fails, or if audio services is involuntarily fails. It additionally clarifies the status of a member who is a caregiver at the time of the meeting. That member participates remotely, it won't count as towards their maximum number of remote meetings that they can attend. And it also clarifies the quorum status of a member who has a disability or is a caregiver at the time of the meeting. So that member's participation remotely will still count towards quorum. With that, again, I'll note that council worked with us on these, and if there's a question to be happy to reply.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Probably when you're reading through this, you might have questions, what do things mean, but it leaves them a choice about acting on this tonight. So perhaps if there are questions, we can entertain them in the future. But that, I'd entertain a motion for approval of the electronic meeting policy update.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, now, I'm hearing any, all those in favor, signify by saying
Aye.
opposed. Abstentions. Thank you. That passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda, approval of Arlington County funding transfer motion clarifications. Are you going to clarify this clarification?
Yes, thank you. In July, the authority, after much discussion, took a motion to transfer some money from the Arlington-Boston project and put it on Crystal City to DC-8 airport project. When we went to execute the motion, it actually drew money from a prior funding source that didn't have enough money to actually complete the whole $22.1 million transfer. So the default then would be to go to the second project. In talking to, that posed problems, frankly, for Arlington County, as well as transactional problems with the authority. So working with Arlington County and Board Member Ferrante was part of these discussions and supportive of this. Working with Arlington County, the decision was made to pull the $22.1 million entirely from the second project. So what the change, the underline was the original statement, highlighted in yellow is the change that will allow this transaction to work smoothly. If there are any other questions on this, I'd be happy to reply.
Thanks very much. Entertain a motion.
I get a movement, Mr. Chair. So I move that the authority approves the replacement language highlighted under 3B in the memorandum beside it.
Thank you, sir. So, any discussion? Yes.
Well, I'm new back here, but I note that this is for an original application that was done back when I was on the authority in 2015. Why? And I'm a little concerned that project money that's allocated sits around before it's used for transportation and transit improvements. So, well, motion will probably pass. I will be voting no.
Any, Arlington, you wish to make any comments on that?
I know we can discuss it. Yeah. I think this is a practical, acceptable solution. And so we can discuss it.
Okay. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Yep. Opposition, any abstentions? Thanks very much, that item passes. Next item on the agenda, approval of Washington Old Dominion Trail Project call.
Thank you. This is seeking the approval of the cancellation of the Arlington WNOD Trail Enhancement Project. This project was originally approved in 2020. Arlington County and Nova Parks have worked through the last couple of years to try to move the project forward. It was originally requested at $5.6 million. That amount was reduced to $650,000 to kind of focus it on the planning stage. The Nova Parks, as well as Arlington County, this was also discussed with Board Member Ferrante, seek to cancel the project and allow them to take some more time to coordinate, come back with a reapplication without having the negativity hanging over it of a forced cancellation. I will note that the project is in violation of several aspects of policy 29, although we've not made a formal finding on that. With that, I'd be happy to reply to any questions.
Thanks very much. Entertain a motion on this issue.
Okay, offer the motion. So, I think that the authority approves the Nova Parks request to voluntarily withdraw the Arlington WNOD Trail Enhancement Project. That's November -002. And reclassify the $650,000 approved for the project as uncommitted within the regional revenue fund.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second. Let me ask on one thing, is this for the additional pedestrian, along the bike path, pedestrian lane? along the bike path?
This project originally included a pedestrian element next to the bike element to the trail design. We have a very good and, negotiated agreement with Nova Parks to revisit, redesign, and include a public involvement and scrutiny out into this, so that we can present a project at the end that is, way less controversial than original one. We are working with Nova Parks to get this accomplished. We're sharing.
I'll just say the addition of pedestrian lane alongside the bike path has been very, very popular, very widely used, and it's a huge safety issue as well to separate the walkers from the bicyclists. So hopefully that can be worked out.
I'm very hopeful on this as well. I think it's up to us to do the best work, the best job we can possibly do. Some of our constituents have been, raising question about the entirety of footprint of this project. Some others have been, myself included, have been insisting that it is part of the metropolitan network that needs to comply with certain standards, and that the benefits of that would vastly outweigh downsides of any argument concept for that. But after such a long preparation here, I think that resetting and redesigning and including as much public outreach and involvement as possible will get us through this time.
Any discussion? Yes.
Sure. First of all, I would commend Arlington County for doing this on the withdrawal. I would support the motion. Perhaps Mr. Lundy, question. Noted that there is a violation of several aspects of MBTA policy 29. My question would be, how often does this happen? Where we have a project approved that it falls into breach of policy 29? Is this a very rare occurrence, or does it happen every couple of months? I'm just curious how regularly these kind of violations occur.
I don't have a number for that. I will note the authority in its budget adoption for this year funded what we call project delivery. Frankly, staff has not had time to do a soup to nuts examination of violations because there's just so many projects now in this staff limitation. Additional staff was approved and direction was given with the adoption of our current operating budget to focus on project delivery in a way to help project sponsors move the projects forward.
Thank you.
Motion has been made second, I believe. So, all those in favor of the motion, sir? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? All right, passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda, approval recommendation for regional service transportation. Funding, that's what the county, University of Extension. Either second.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Prince William County is requesting to reallocate $4 million in RSTP funds, taking it off the University Boulevard Extension, Devlin Road to Wellington Road, and putting it on the donor project, which is their Old Bridge Road at Occoquan Road intersection improvement project. The donor project, which is the University Boulevard extension does not need additional monies to go to design. However, the receiving project, which is the Old Bridge Road, Occoquan Road, needs additional funds, and it already has smart scale funds, but it needs additional funds to advance to construction.
Thank you. Entertain a motion on this.
I will make the motion. I move that the authority approval to recommend the reallocation of 4 million of regional surface transportation program or RSTP funds from UPC 118313 to UPC 115553 for construction.
Thank you, Chair Jefferson. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Passes unanimously. Next item on the agenda, approval of recommendation to transfer regional service transportation program funding to the city. Citywide multi-mode transportation improvements, Fairwoods Parkway to University Drive bike lanes project.
So, Mr. Chairman, the city of Fairfax is requesting to transfer $875,051 in RSTP funds from their citywide multimodal transportation improvements project to the University Drive Bike Lanes project. As noted in the packet, the University Drive Bike Lanes project has some transportation alternative funding and requires additional funding to complete. And the city plans to complete the citywide multimodal transportation improvements to Fairwoods Parkway project with local funds.
Thank you. Is there a motion?
Yes, I would like to make the motion. I move the authority of approval to recommend the reallocation of $875,051 of Regional Surface Transportation Program, RSTP funds from UPC 112478 to UPC 121556 for the city of Fairfax.
Second.
This is a main second. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Item passes unanimously. So now we enter a discussion items, and I would say that so far, we're staying within the recommended time, and I won't say what that is, but I'm going to have staff. Equally efficient.
Better allow another time. Yeah, I mean, I just, Alexandria would be fine, but they were on here in time. Fairfax.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before Ms. Singh begins, for those of you who do not know, Amanda is no longer my executive assistant. That program delivery grants manager position that Mr. Longy just noted is now Amanda's position. So she has been promoted. If you see emails from Quinn Haley, she's my new executive assistant. Quinn, wait. Thank you. So we're happy for Amanda, happy for Quinn, and I'm making it. So Amanda.
Thank you, Ms. Backman. Good evening, Vice Chair Snyder and authority members. And now, boy, you're putting pressure on me to really recap this whole strategic plan within a time frame. But this evening, I'm going to go through information on MBTA's 5-year strategic plan. Next slide, please. Just a brief overview of what I'll be covering. I'll be going into the 2017 5-year strategic plan, providing some information on that, then providing information on the closeout report, and then concluding with next steps. Next slide. So MBTA adopted its first 5-year strategic plan on November 9th in 2017. This plan served as a guide to give authority members and staff room to expand upon the accomplishments of MBTA, as well as provide outlined strategic goals. In that strategic plan, we adopted a vision statement, which is pretty lengthy here, so I'm not going to read the whole thing. But basically what it's getting at is that MBTA should utilize innovation, partnerships, and collaboration to deliver effective, transparent planning and decision-making to advance the transportation network. Next slide, please. Also in this 5-year strategic plan, we identified 4 goals. Yeah. And these goals in the strategic plan provided a definition to get context and clarity to what those goals were. They also had associated strategies and actions that MBTA could take to achieve those goals. What those 4 goals are regional prosperity, to foster regional prosperity by investing in a sustainable transportation network that supports economic growth while balancing quality of life. mobility through sound planning and programming, increased transportation connectivity and availability of transportation options to reduce congestion. Innovation, lead the region in planning and advocating for emerging transportation technologies which address future transportation, workplace, and development trends. And lastly, funding, support transportation infrastructure development through excellent stewardship of taxpayer dollars, maximizing opportunities from existing sources, and advocating for additional transportation revenues. Next slide. So in the coming year, MBTA staff is going to undertake work to adopt a new 5-year strategic plan. But before we do that, I want to provide a closeout report of the 2017 strategic plan. MBTA staff have provided progress reports on this plan in the past in 2018, 2019, and 2020. And now we're going to provide kind of this report on MBTA's accomplishments and all the work we've done to achieve those 4 goals now in 2024. The full closeout report is provided in your packet. It's a 15-page document, and instead of reading through the entire thing, I decided to make a nice presentation to highlight all of MBTA's accomplishments. So next slide. But before I go into the accomplishments, I want to give a picture of where we were in 2017. Now, we do have some authority members who were here today that were in 2017 and adopted this 5-year strategic plan, but most were not. So just a little recap of where we were is we adopted the 3rd transaction update on October 12th, 2017. That transaction had 352 projects and looked at the region needing $45.2 billion. Our current transaction has 424 projects and way more than 45 billion. So kind of growing in the region here. 2017, we also adopted 3 funding programs. Through those 3 funding programs, we were investing in 79 projects totaling $990 million. Want to note here that all of those funding programs were done kind of through paper applications. Now, we had computers and they were electronic PDF, but still, that's basically paper version now in today's world with the computer. So kind of clunky and a lot of work on both the applicants and MBTA staff. We also approved the 6-year program framework in 2017, noting that we were going to start the call for projects for our inaugural 6-year program in October of 2017. On November 9th in 2017, we also celebrated MBTA's 15th anniversary. And in 2017, we recommended projects to the Commonwealth Transportation Board, the CTB, funding through the Transform 66 Outside the Beltway Payment Concessionaire Fund. The authority receives updates about that annually, usually in the fall. But in 2017, MBTA approved 14 projects totaling an estimated of $473 million, which the CTB did adopt, as well as adopt a 5th project in that program. We also, for milestone events, ribbon cuttings and groundbreakings, we held 11 since 2015. 3 of those were groundbreakings and 8 were ribbon cuttings. Next slide, please. So going into what we have accomplished by goal. First, starting with regional prosperity. One of the big things is regional collaboration. We met and foster and continue to meet and foster with various economic development groups, chambers of commerce, and the business community. Ms. Backman meets very often with these groups, and she is invited to present on panels and speak about the work that MBTA is doing, because these groups want to hear directly from MBTA what we're doing and how we're advancing the transportation network in the region. We also conducted and compiled an economic impact analysis, which is objective and an independent research. This economic impact analysis we first did in 2018, and we have done one in 2022 and 2021. And we've adopted the cadence of doing an economic impact analysis after every funding program, because we want to know what is the economic value that we're getting from MBTA's investments and the projects that we're investing in. So this report is showing things like travel time saved, the investment back on the taxpayers of what they're getting for their money. And it's showing not only the benefit to Northern Virginia, but the Commonwealth as a whole. And then we also do advocacy and education. Every year, MBTA creates an annual report that highlights all the work that MBTA does within the year. And then we are invited down, the chair of MBTA, Chair Randall and Ms. Backman, go down into the General Assembly and advocate for MBTA and educate the members on all the work that MBTA is doing and how we're really meeting the roles that they outlined for us. Next slide. Going back to that celebration milestone, so since 2015, now in 2024, we have celebrated 65 total milestone events. 25 of those have been groundbreakings and 39 are ribbon cuttings, which means that we are celebrating the completion of projects, that they are online, they are on our system, and our residents can be using those projects to get where they need to go. Out of those 65, 11 have occurred in 2024. And we're not done with 2024. We still have 3 months to go, a few that are scheduled on the book, so we're really excited to celebrate some more with you. We adopted a new vision statement and core values of equity, safety, and sustainability. This occurred during the update of transaction that we adopted in 2022. We updated this new vision statement and core values in December of 2020 during that work for transaction. And with this adoption, MBTA has worked to incorporate those core values of equity, safety, and sustainability in all of the work that MBTA does. We really want to walk the walk, not just talk the talk. This is how we want to accomplish our goals, is through those core values. Most notably, one of the ways that we're doing that is that with this just recently adopted 6-year program, we had a pilot effort to evaluate how we can evaluate candidate projects and how they align and advance those core values. And that work started with MBTA staff developing some definitions about what those core values actually are in relation to projects. And that's just one example of how we're incorporating it into everything that we do. Next slide. In 2020, we launched our Nova Gateway, which is a public dashboard that you can get real-time information on all the projects that MBTA invest in. And you can go there by going to novagateway.org. You can sort through project sponsor and by mode and other means and zoom in on the map and click on different projects and get all of the information on the projects that MBTA is funding through its regional revenues. We also developed the transportation trends, or the travel trends, which you're going to hear just right after this presentation, so I don't think I have to cover that. You're going to see it for yourself. And then we also finalized development of an in-house transportation modeling and data analytics section. And this is MBTA's work to really gather that data to support our data-based decision-making processes. Most notably, we held MBTA's first ever travel modeling workshop covering hybrid travel demand modeling in March of 2023. And this was a very well-attended event by other government representatives, including the Federal Highway Administration and other state and regional government representatives, as well as metropolitan planning organizations. Next slide. Since we're covering the goal of mobility, I could not highlight our work on a preliminary deployment plan for a regional bus rapid transit system in Northern Virginia, our PDP BRT. You all received updates on this work in both the June and July meetings, but just a little reminder, we're developing a plan to implement a regional bus rapid transit system in Northern Virginia. The PDP will explore deployment and operational challenges for this system, and this work began just in October of 2023. And it will work in 4 phases. The first phase was the data gathering phase, where we gather data and get public input. That's the updates that we received in June and July. And now we're underway with phase 2, which is the analysis, where we're really kind of diving into all that data and actually building out what that BRT system is going to look like. Next slide. MBTA increases awareness and understanding of MBTA's regional transportation investments, both on a regional and national level. And this is where we go to conferences and other industry professional organizations. MBTA staff have presented at a numerous of type of seminars and workshops and national conferences so that we could talk about all of the work that MBTA is doing and then also gather input from what other industry professionals are doing. Most notably, some of those include the Transportation Research Board, the TRB, the Association of Metropolitan Planning Organizations Annual Conference, AMPO, and the American Council of Engineering Companies, ACDC. Next slide. Moving to the goal of innovation. MBTA is partnering with VDOT and DRPT on developing a regional multimodal mobility program, or what we call RM3P for short. And RM3P will use information and communication technologies to provide tools that optimize the transportation system. This is a really innovative process where we're working on developing an app that people can use to make travel choices depending on the system. This is going to use artificial intelligence, AI, and dynamic incentivization, all really big words that I don't know a whole lot about. But there's a plug for our 9th annual roundtable that we are going to dive way deeper into RM3P and all the work that has accomplished under this initiative and where we are. So that 9th annual roundtable is going to occur on October 9th here at the MBTA offices from 8:30 to 11 a.m. You all received an invite. We're going to have the keynote speaker of Kathy McGee, who's the Chief Deputy Commissioner of VDOT. We're also going to have an expert panel of people that have been involved in this RM3P program. So we really hope to see you there so you can get some more information on that. We also adopted a first of its kind transportation technology strategic plan, the TTSP. We adopted this back in May of 2021. What the TTSP is it's designed to foster a proactive approach to innovations that advance MBTA's goals for the region and reduces congestion. We want to stay on top of all the technology that's out there. And because technology is constantly changing, we created this as a living document. So we did a substantial update in November of 2022 to update all of our plan with the current technologies. Part of this plan incorporates an action plan and 9 strategies on how MBTA should address and deal with technologies. And it's also helped to inform multiple of MBTA's programs, including MBTA's legislative program since 2022. And this also helped inform our update of transaction in 2022. Next slide. We're hosting regional discussions addressing transportation technologies. One of those is what I just mentioned, our annual roundtable. We do that in partnership with Intelligent Transportation Society of Virginia. We've had 8 of those annual roundtables so far, and this 9th one is going to occur on October 9th. We also have MBTA's Innovation Lunch and Learns, which are designed to provide opportunities of an information exchange with subject matter experts, all that are aligned with that MBTA TTSP, or things that are currently occurring either in the region or the nation on transportation technologies. This is designed as a 45-minute virtual event that people log into. We have a subject matter expert presenting on their topic, and then we have some Q&A with all the participants. That initiative initially started in the summer of 2023, and we just had launched our fall series of that, and we had our first session of that just last Thursday on September 9th. We lead the public outreach efforts regarding emerging technologies with a newsletter that we call Driven by Innovation, or DBI. And this newsletter provides the latest information on the technologies that's happening across the globe. We also provide updates on all the work MBTA is doing within transportation technology, really tying back to that strategic plan and figuring out how we're implementing it. Next slide. Lastly, the goal of funding. Every year we achieve an unmodified clean audit opinion every year. And that's really a testament to our finance team being good stewards of the money and accounting everything appropriately. We also continue to maintain the highest attainable credit rating for an organization of our size. And again, that's a big testament to our finance team to do sound and wise investments within the region. And just in this past May, we got reaffirmed that credit rating by Fitch. In September of 2023, we celebrated $1 billion distributed to through the local distribution fund, which is our fund where we're giving to the jurisdictions and they can use for their transportation needs of their choice. So most of you are in that picture. And then tying back to that 6-year program strategy, we were developing that out framework in 2017, on the financial side, we had to develop a multi-year funding strategy, which meant that we had to do revenue estimates to determine money for out years, because now we're funding out year programs. We adopted the inaugural 6-year program in June of 2018 and have since adopted 3 more 6-year programs, the most recent one occurring this past July. Through all of those funding programs, the 7 that we have total, we are investing into 140 multimodal projects totaling $3.8 billion of regional revenue investments in the region. So that $3.8 billion tied with that $1 billion of the local distribution fund, we're investing nearly $5 billion into this region, which is a huge increase than what we were just back in 2017. Next slide. So we have these 140 projects, and I think I mentioned when we first had these funding programs, we were dealing with paper applications and emails and documents. So in order to make this system actually work and advance all these projects and make it easier on staff for an MBTA and jurisdictions and project applicants, we developed an implementation and monitoring system, what we call PIMS, which is the Program Information Management and Monitoring System. This is utilized by both MBTA staff, project applicants, project sponsors, and they use this module for a bunch of project administration tasks, such as project applications, standard project agreement modules dealing with SPAs, reimbursement requests, cost schedule updates, and monthly project status updates. We are currently working on upgrades to this system as we want to grow and get better with more that MBTA is doing. We're undergoing phase 5 update, which is now where we want to include information on our 30% local distribution fund projects. Right now, PIMS is just capturing the regional revenue projects, and we're working now to incorporate that local distribution project information because we have it, but we now want to put it into the system. We also want to start incorporating lane mile analysis. We're starting to give updates with that with every adoption of the 6-year program, and we want to incorporate that information into the system. And this system isn't just a benefit for staff. This feeds into the public-facing Nova Gateway dashboard that I mentioned earlier in this presentation. So as this system is being updated, those updates are being provided real time to the public so they can see themselves where this money is going, what projects we're pushing toward, and how they're advancing in the region. And then lastly, we have advocate and educate. So we're continuing to provide information, and this is really done through NDTA's legislative program, which we adopt every year. So just this past last year in 2024, we adopted 5 of these priorities we wanted to bring down to the General Assembly. And under the goal of funding, one of that big one is to protect the dedicated revenue sources of NDTA and the powers of NDTA. And next slide. So with all of that we have accomplished now, the next thing is where do we go from here? And that's to adopt the next 5-year strategic plan. So we can outline what the next 5 years are going to look like for NBTA. And we want to approach this with the overarching strategy to maintain and enhance NBTA's primary responsibilities while expanding on NBTA's range to address urgent and unmet regional transportation needs. We want to be helping out the region. So staff have begun work on this update. The first part is this closeout report. And we're going to come back to the authority for coordination, collaboration, and the efforts of this strategic plan. The first part of that is we want to adopt a new vision and goals for the next 5 years. And we anticipate to do that in early 2025. After those goals and vision statement are updated, staff will work on developing strategies and metrics that will support those goals. We are looking for in summer 2025 to adopt the full 5-year strategic. And with that, that's all I have. Unless there's
Thanks very much. Thanks for a really great presentation. Great presentation, very well presented. Anyway, thanks. Questions, comments? Yes.
Dr. I associate myself with your comments. And seeing that presentation once again reminds me that the thousands of votes that took when I was in House delegates, my vote in 2013 for House Bill 23 would be pretty much the single best vote I took when I was.
absolutely.
Well done.
I would agree.
I don't think we should forget for a minute, key role in our legislature in general, making it possible to actually do the stuff we did, but also to great board members with, or especially great staff. So thanks for that. Any other questions? Okay, next item is, I think, travel tracking.
Good evening, Chair Snyder. Item number 10 in your packet, our regular quarterly updates on travel plans in Northern Virginia. In this update, we will present numbers from the second quarter of this year, April to June. Amanda just mentioned our 3 core values during our transaction last year. One of them is, of course, safety. In safety planning, one of the most sought after metrics is pedestrian fatality rates. We have checked VDOT's cache database, that's our past item, to see how we are faring or how we are trending. before I explain this chart, we will also cover our regular updates on highway traffic volumes and transit monthly ridership. Coming back to this fatality rates, so we were very, while every death should be prevented, we were encouraged to see a substantial decline in 2023. There's the last number on your chart, 24 deaths in Northern Virginia, which was a sharp drop from 48 in 2022. And this trend is in sync with the entire state. Next chart. And almost mimic the entire nation trend. This chart shows the pedestrian fatality rates per 100,000 people to compare our rates or our trend with the state and the nation. So since 2019, we had been faring the best if you compare the rates with the other geographies. But of course, we have to do more to bring the deaths even more. We have spoken with the VDOT Central Office on traffic operations to explain or to understand these trends. And according to the staff there, the 2023 decline can be attributed to more stabilized traffic patterns and traffic behaviors since the pandemic, and also a number of multiple highway safety initiatives by VDOT statewide and other safety partners locally in this region. So we are encouraged to see these numbers, and we will continue monitoring this to see if we can see even further decline. Next chart. So with that, I will go into our regular updates on highway traffic and transit ridership. This one is highway traffic. We continued our analysis on the time of day analysis and day of the week. This one shows day of the week. Previously, in the last report, we have seen that Friday is the highway highest travel demand. In this one, I'm sorry, I'm reversed. In this one, Friday is the highest travel demand. In the last report, it was Thursday. But I think that another point is, if you see the bolded 2.4, we are very close to pre-pandemic travel demand on roadways, only 2.4% below than the 2019 level. Next chart. There. In this, on those Fridays, we have checked how does the travel demand vary with the time of day. And as always, we have seen the PM peaks to be the most high demand. Lian, actually, go to the next chart. This is the time of day chart. PM peak is showing, in fact, more than pre-COVID travel demand, 4% more. So with that, that is on the highway side. And these are all based on VDOT's Central Office traffic count databases. Next chart. On transit, on this chart, the top 3 lines are all local buses. The yellow one is Dash. Somewhat blue is the character.
That's a strong second place, Jeff. It's like we had a driver strike. It's strong. It's a silver medal. It's good. It's good, Jeff. Be proud of it. Be proud of it.
And the very faint green third line is the Metro bus. What is not captured in this chart is a couple of media reports that I want to highlight. For Dash, in fiscal year 2024, they have reported all-time high annual ridership of 5.3 million passengers. And that's an all-time high record.
Second year in a row.
On Metrobus, in Northern Virginia, on this chart, we are still a little below than pre-pandemic, with about 10%, 12% below. But system-wide, again, this is a media report, they have reported about 100,000 more passengers in June of 2024 as compared to June of 2019. So I think the underlying theme is local buses are ever more strong, and they are coming back and recovering ever more strongly than any other transit services in the region. And that's more or less the story of transit ridership. And that actually concludes my report. Next step, we will continue to analyzing this data and come back to authority in December.
Thank you. Questions or comments? I think this chart in particular is interesting. No questions or comments? Thank you for your work. Next item on the agenda, Chief Executive Officer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would just like to remind the authority that the photos for the annual report will be taken next month at the October or prior to the October authority meeting. So if you could arrive a little early, we would appreciate it. And remember, this is a picture, so whatever you wear is what the photographer will capture. But we will some notices and reminders, just because I know sometimes people forget, but we will send out a reminder. Additionally, at the July meeting, the authority staff was given a directive to work on a draft policy to address the projects that were previously fully funded and then comes back to receive additional funding. We are working on that draft now. We will vet it through your committees as well and then present it to you in December for your consideration. But I did want to know that we are currently working on that. And just as a reminder, this is probably the third or fourth time you're hearing it tonight. The Transportation Roundtable is October the 9th. Please let me know if you would like to attend. And Mr. Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions for our Chief Executive Officer? Comments? Okay, pressure's really on comments. I want to reiterate thanks to all the authority members over the years, staffs, the legislature, made it possible, executive branch agencies. But mostly I want to thank the public that's been willing to invest. And I think the indicates our very best of the to the goals that the legislature had in mind and we shared over the recent years. Any questions at all? Comments? Not seeing any. Take a motion.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion over in favor, signify by saying aye. We are adjourned. Thank you, and we met.
I got 6 minutes. It's gonna take.